Tara, and today I am so excited because we're finally going to talk about my top 10 splurge-worthy $200 and up perfumes of 2020. And so these are obviously all very luxury. A lot of them are considered niche or even maybe indie, but these all fall in that luxury category, right? So it's going to be fun, and there's going to be a lot of expensive things here, but they're ones that I truly love. Before we get into today's list, I just want to give you a reminder that there's some fun things coming up later this week. The Olfactofiles Awards will be on Friday, which is January 1st. I'm gonna have it in the afternoon. I'm not 100% sure what time yet, but it should be up soon. It's gonna be a premiere, so you guys can join me in the live chat and see which perfumes and fragrance houses won this year based on your votes. And thank you again for voting. So many people voted, and finally, I think all the ties have been broken, although there are a few categories that are very close. Also on Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, I'm gonna do another Sample Sunday Live, and this one's gonna be pretty fun because I am gonna be smelling, among other things, État Libre d'Orange's Secretions Magnifique. And if you don't know what that is, go ahead and go look it up because it should be interesting. And I'm sort of looking forward to it, but also very much not. But it should be fun. So join me then. Definitely the Olfactofiles Awards. I have the Sample Sunday Live, and then also tomorrow night you'll see a fun collab video that I did with some other great YouTubers. So that's coming up, but right now let's get into my top 10 splurge-worthy perfumes. Just as I did in my last two lists, I'm gonna begin with a couple honorable mentions, and today's first honorable mention goes to Amouage's Sunshine Woman. This one was created by Sidonie Lancesser, perhaps is how you say her name, and I really like wearing this one in the summer, although I honestly think you could probably wear it from spring through fall. This one has a note of osmanthus that pulls very apricot-y, at least to my nose, and I think most people would describe it that way, but it also has this like white tobacco or tobacco blossom sort of note that makes it really unique, and it changes a lot through the wear. I also pick up a little bit of like almond and vanilla in here, but this is just a very unique perfume to my collection, and it lasts a long time. Definitely one that I would recommend trying from Amouage if you haven't already. Like I said, I find it to be pretty complex and change throughout the wear, which makes it really interesting, but I definitely reached for this one a lot this past summer. My other honorable mention comes from Carolina Herrera's Confidentials collection, and this is Nightfall Patchouli. And this collection I've really been interested in. I have several now from this collection, but I really, really love Nightfall Patchouli. This one, obviously there's patchouli, but it's a rose patchouli kind of combo with some benzoin, tobacco, a little bit of cinnamon in there as well. I find this one to be fairly sexy. Again, good longevity on this one. Unfortunately, I don't know who created it, but I must say they did a fantastic job. So that's Nightfall Patchouli. Not inexpensive, but of course none of these are today. And this one's also incredibly difficult to find in the States, but you can occasionally find them. All right, now we're getting into the list, and I want to mention that I did limit myself to only 2 per house, but you will see a couple or maybe even 3 houses that I have 2 from on this list, but I just happen to really love these. So we're going to start with one that you're going to see 2 from this brand, and that is Tom Ford. And this one is Santal Blush. This is in the old bottle. I don't know if the new bottle smells any different. I don't think it's supposed to, but the old bottle is beautiful. Anyway, so this fragrance I find to be very, very sexy. It's the one, if you watch Tony's charity live where he was raising money for the Make-A-Wish Foundation, that was just yesterday. I mentioned this is the one I would wear on my fantasy date with Norman Reedus from The Walking Dead. Yeah, I love this. It's like this creamy sandalwood, but there's also some spice. There's some benzoin, there's definitely some musk in that dry down, but it's just a fantastic fragrance. Love, love, love Santal Blush. It's honestly, this list is the hardest one because everything I'm gonna show you today are like some of my absolute favorite from my entire collection. So number 10, Santal Blush. All right, number 9 is one that you all have heard about by now. This is from Parfums de Marly, and it is Delina Exclusif. Now, both Delina and Delina Exclusif were created by Quentin Biche. I love both. There are some, noticeable differences though. The main thing is that in Delina Exclusif, that rhubarb note has been taken out, and some more vanilla and oud has been added, although I don't really pick up much of the oud. So mostly to me, I get the rose, I get lychee, I get vanilla, and I get a little touch of pear as well. This one is another one that lasts a really long time on me. It's one of the only ones from Parfums de Marly that does last a long time on me, and it's very powerful. But I find this to be something that I wear fairly often, and just like for no special reason, just because I want to. So even though it seems like very bougie and fancy, I will wear this with a sweatshirt, no problem. I love the way it smells. Perhaps it's more fitted for something more formal than that, but you know what? It's 2020 for at least a couple more days. And I haven't done a whole lot of dressing up this year. At number 8, we have one of my favorite Kilian fragrances, and that is Back to Black. Now, this one is a honey and tobacco type of scent. It does pull powdery to a lot of people's noses. For me, there is a little bit of powder there, but this is another very sexy kind of fragrance, like very much so. And also, in addition to that honey and tobacco, I get a little bit of almond and vanilla mixed in as well. I think this is great, you know, completely unisex. I think it's great for everybody, but definitely sample it because some people just really don't like this. I don't get it. I think it's amazing, but yeah, some people think it just smells like powder. I don't know. I don't. So anyway, that one is Back to Black. Number 7 is another one you've probably heard of before because this one gets a ton of hype and I think it's very well deserved. It is from Xerjoff's Casamarati line and it is Lira. Now, Lira is a very delicious gourmand fragrance. It's got this very heavy dose of caramel in here with some vanilla. There's a blood orange note in here, but on my skin, it pulls like a lemon sort of note. So it smells like a lemon cake almost as opposed to orangey. If you want the more orangey kind of note, I would recommend the Exidolo Love and Crime, which was in my last list. They smell very, very similar. You don't need both. I have both because I just love it so much. Like I love this scent profile. But yeah, this one is just this delicious like caramel cinnamon lemon cake and it's so beautiful. And by the way, Chris Maurice is the creator of this one. I think he does tons, if not the majority of the fragrances for Xerjoff. In at number 6, we have the fragrance that dethroned Tobacco Vanille, and I love Tobacco Vanille, but this fragrance that I'm about to show you smells very similar, but better. Now, I don't know that the performance is as strong on this as Tobacco Vanille, but the way it smells is just amazing. This is from Merchant of Venice, and it is Arabesque. And if you've smelled Tobacco Vanille, you can kind of have an idea of what this will smell like. This has plum, tobacco, there's benzoin, which kind of pulls that vanilla-y kind of vibe. There are some spices as well, but there's also ginger in here, which is not in Tobacco Vanille that I can remember, and a little bit of tonka. So this one is just so gorgeous. Another one that I think would be great for anyone, for all genders, and I just adore it. The bottle's obviously very pretty as well. But if you haven't tried anything from Merchant of Venice, they don't get talked about a whole lot, but I would recommend it because this is a very high quality fragrance. Definitely want to try more from them, but I've heard that the one I've started with might be kind of their best one. And again, that's Arabesque. In my previous list, I shared a delicious chocolate fragrance from Panna London, and today I have another one of my most favorite fragrances, period, but especially when it comes to chocolate fragrances. And this one is from Guerlain, and it is called Gourmand Coquin. And first of all, it's just beautiful. This bottle is beautiful. The color of the liquid's beautiful, but it smells amazing. This would be such a beautiful scent to wear on a date because it's kind of delicious, but also not so overpowering that everybody's gonna smell you. It would just be the person that you want to be close to. This one was created by Christine Nagel, and I think that Sylvain Delacourt might have also helped, but I found conflicting information about that, so I'm not 100% sure if it was just Christine or if it was both Christine and Sylvain. So this one is obviously a chocolate fragrance, but it does have this rum note in here that gives it this booziness, sort of reminiscent of like the boozy sort of filling you would find in one of those like cherry chocolate cordials. The other notes that are in here are things like rose and black pepper and tea, but mostly to me it smells like a chocolate covered cherry, like including that boozy kind of filling that you would find in there. So again, that one's Gourmand Coquin from Guerlain. I love it. It's amazing. Next up at number 4 is my other Tom Ford, and as you might guess, it is Lost Cherry. Now, I was able to get this bottle half off, so if you have a cosmetics company store near you, check there because they have been popping up, and then it's gonna be more, for this size bottle, 100 mils, more around the $225, $250 mark with tax, as opposed to double that, but still not inexpensive. However, I love this fragrance. Obviously, this is a cherry dominant fragrance, but there's also some booziness to it that I really love. There's some almond, tonka, vanilla. I think there's even a little bit of balsam in here, but I just, I love this fragrance, and I know and I fully acknowledge that the performance is not great on this. I don't care. I don't care. I love it so much. I don't care. I will spray more. Or as Hillorie from the Borough taught me, if you layer this with Baccarat Rouge 540, which that fragrance, as you know, has incredible longevity, that actually keeps the cherry note around much longer. And so that's what I usually do now. I tend to wear those two together all the time as opposed to either separately. But yeah, I love Lost Cherry. I know the performance sucks, and I don't care. I love it. Oh, and I am so sorry. I forgot to mention that Louise Turner was the perfumer for Lost Cherry, and I'm not real familiar with her work, but now knowing that she's the one that created this, I will be on the lookout for more of her fragrances. Coming in at number 3 is the fragrance that would have been number 1 if I had filmed this video last year, and only until the last several months did this get dethroned as my number 1 fragrance in my entire collection. Still, I would say it's probably in the top 5, if not number 3 completely, and it is Guerlain Spiritueuse Double Vanille. This one is just the most amazing vanilla fragrance. It does not have great performance either. None of the Art and Materials collection from Guerlain really seem to have the best projection or longevity, but they are some of the most beautifully composed fragrances I've ever smelled. Spiritueuse Double Vanille was actually created before this line came out, and then it was later added. It was originally created by Jean-Paul Guerlain, and it features obviously vanilla. There's benzoin. There is a booziness to this as well. I think there's a touch of incense and maybe even a slight hint of rose in here too. This one is definitely my favorite vanilla dominant fragrance. Although I have many favorites, this is number 1 and probably always will be. I mean, it would have to be very special to beat this one. Coming in at number 2 is another fragrance from Xerjoff, and this one was created by Jacques Fleury, and it is Ibitira. This is my favorite iris fragrance. Again, it's one of my favorite fragrances in my entire collection. The bottle that I have is the old version, so if you go to look for it now, it will not look like this. It will look like kind of their standard bottle that they have now, and that's because these would chip easily. Mine has a little chip in it. I was able to get this for a great price secondhand, but this is a very expensive one if you were to go buy it brand new. I think it's very much worth it though. This is just a beautiful, beautiful iris fragrance. In addition to that iris, there's a touch of like maybe a lemony kind of citrus in here. There's some musk. I think there's a little bit of violet, some cedar, definitely some sort of like I think it's cedar, but a woody sort of dry down to it with the iris. But I mean, this is just like iris on full display. Xerjoff does a beautiful iris. So if you are looking for fragrances that feature that note, I highly recommend checking out some samples from Xerjoff. They have several different fragrances that include this iris that they have formulated, and it's one of the best I've ever smelled. So that one is Ibitira. Okay, here we are. Number 1 on my final list, my most splurge-worthy fragrance of 2020, and you probably already know what it is if you watch my videos fairly often. It's from the house of Dusita, and it is Issara. Now this fragrance, in addition to all of the fragrances from Dusita, are created by Pisara Umavijani, I think's maybe how you say her last name, but Pisara is the owner and creator of all of these scents. So this is an indie house, although it's a very luxury indie house. Issara was the first fragrance she created, and she has, I think, maybe 10-ish now, maybe even 11, around there. But I have smelled all of them, and I really enjoy many of them. However, Issara is my absolute favorite, and it is basically, I don't have a signature scent, but if I did, it would be this one. Now with Issara, I get a lot of tonka, pine needles, I get some vetiver, some oak moss, ambergris. I think there's a touch of musk in here as well. So it is this like kind of a little bit earthy, grounded fragrance, but there is that sweetness from the tonka as well. Very unique scent, and it was one that the first time I tried it, I immediately fell in love, and it just felt right. Like this feels like the fragrance that I am meant to wear. Like I said, if I have a signature, currently it's this, although with as many fragrances I have, I'm never gonna have a signature, but this one feels very much like it fits me. So that's my number 1 pick for the most splurge worthy of all in 2020. It's Dusita's Issara. This one is an X straight, so it's one of the most expensive that she has, but her Her eau de parfums, I think, come in just under $200, so not cheap, but you know, you can check out the line and see which one you like the best. All right, so that is it. We did it. We went through all 3 top 10s, starting with the most affordable ones that all fell under $100, then kind of in the middle from $100 to $200, and finally today's are all these splurge-worthy fragrances that are gonna set you back at least $200. Again, I highly recommend you sampling these if any sound interesting to you. I will say that I sampled several of these before I purchased them, but some were blind buys that just happened to work out really, really well. I'm going to try in 2021 to blind buy almost nothing. Now, I'm not going to say that I won't blind buy anything, because occasionally it's just, it has to happen. It doesn't have to happen, but occasionally it's just what's going to happen. But I am going to really focus myself on limiting my blind buying in 2021, and hopefully, you know, you do what you want, but I hope that maybe you will do that as well, so that way we all end up with only fragrances that we really love. What were your splurge-worthy perfumes of the year? Which ones did you smell, and even though they're really expensive, you just had to have? Let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. Also, if you did enjoy this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you haven't already. I would really appreciate that. I will see you guys tomorrow with another video, and hopefully you will join me in the live chat on Friday for the first ever Viewer's Choice Olfacti Awards. That's going to be a lot of fun. And also on Sunday for some live sniffing of one of the most awful fragrances I think that's ever been created, but we'll find out. Maybe it won't be so bad. Probably will be. All right, thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.